They say fear keeps you alive, but no one warns you what hope can do. Hope is far crueler. It waits until you've begun to believe in gentle things, in small mercies, in the possibility that perhaps the world is not as heartless as it seems. And then it reminds you, sharply, devastatingly, that you were foolish for dreaming at all. Mira learned this the night her village chose her as tribute. She had spent her childhood stealing comfort from bedtime tales, stories of chosen girls, of hidden destinies, of monstrous creatures who were not monsters at all. Stories whispered by mothers to daughters, promising that even the forgotten, even the unwanted, could one day be seen, be loved, be saved. But fairy tales lied. Because when the elders dragged her forward and named her useless, when her father looked away instead of fighting for her, when the torches lit her tears like molten gold, Mira understood the truth. There would be no fairy godmother, no prince in disguise, no miracle waiting in the trees. Only the night beast. And the cold, brutal lesson that sometimes the deepest wounds are carved not by claws or curses, but by the people who were supposed to protect you. Chapter 1. The night they chose me as tribute did not begin with screams. It began with silence, the kind that presses against your ribs until your heart forgets how to beat. Not even the wind dared move. Not even the wolves sang. The entire village seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for something ancient and unforgiving to open its eyes. Torchlight spilled against the stone walls of our gathering square, their flames hissing in the cold night air. Shadows danced along the ground, long and monstrous, twisting in shapes that looked too alive to belong to the villagers casting them. And above it all, a low hum vibrated through the earth. Not loud, not violent, but heavy. A warning. Reminder. The night beast was awake. I felt the shift before anyone spoke a word. My skin prickled with dread, my stomach tightening as though it already understood what my mind refused to accept. The elders stood at the center of the square in their ceremonial cloaks, black wool embroidered with silver thread, shimmering like stars trapped in a void. Their faces were painted pale, ghostly, like carved stone brought to life. One of them stepped forward, leaning heavily on a twisted staff. Elder Verek. His voice carried through the crowd like a blade wrapped in velvet. Tonight, he announced, we honor the pact that keeps our village alive. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Someone behind me sniffed. Someone else wiped their hands on their coat. Everyone knew what this meant. Everyone except me. At least that's what I had convinced myself to believe. Elder Verek raised his voice. Tonight, a tribute must be chosen. Cold seeped into my bones. I kept my head down, my fingers curled into fists beneath the thin fabric of my dress. My father stood beside me stiffly. His jaw clenched so tightly the muscles pulsed beneath his skin. My older brother, Taran, towered behind us, breathing heavily, as though preparing for a blow. I knew why. Because when sacrifices were needed, they chose those who would not be missed. The useless, the wolfless, the barren, the ones like me. A torch flared as the elders unfurled a scroll. Names had been written already. 2 had been crossed out, those who had fled at the rumor of another tribute. 1 space remained. 1 fate. I felt the village's judgment prickle across my skin long before Elder Verek spoke. Mira, he said. My name cut through the stillness like a whip. Mira, daughter of heaven. Step forward. A strange numbness swept through me. First my fingertips, then my legs, then my tongue. For a heartbeat I stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. No, my father whispered. Not loudly, not angrily, just broken. A sound like something inside him collapsing. But he did not step forward. He did not speak again. Hands shoved me from behind. I stumbled into the circle of torchlight, where every pair of eyes fell upon me like stones. She has no wolf, a woman hissed. She brings no value, someone muttered. She is a burden, an old man spat. Let the beast take her, another voice urged. Their words sliced through me one by one, each sharper than the last. Shame burned hot beneath my skin, spreading like wildfire. I felt my pulse hammering in my throat, felt tears threatening to spill but refusing to fall. I would not give them that satisfaction. Elder Varek lowered his gaze to me, and for a moment, just a moment, I thought I saw regret. But it vanished quickly, smothered beneath duty. "The beast has slaughtered every tribute before," he said calmly. "Perhaps this one will satisfy his hunger." A collective shiver moved through the crowd. A distant roar rolled across the sky, deep enough to rattle the stones beneath my feet. Torches flickered violently as though the sound itself had disturbed the flames. The night beast answered the call. Elder Varek nodded to the guards. 2 men seized me by the arms, their grip bruising, their faces emotionless. "No!" My voice cracked. "Father, please." He looked at me then, truly looked. His face was pale, tortured, twisted with helplessness. But he did not move. His legs remained rooted. His fists stayed clenched. His eyes fell away. He did nothing. Taryn stepped forward as if to intervene, but our father shot him a single warning look. A look that said, "Do not make this worse." A look that said, "She is already gone." My heart shattered. The guards dragged me toward the waiting cage cart. Iron bars rusted at the edges. Chains lay coiled on the wooden floor like sleeping serpents. The horses pulling it stomped nervously, their breath forming white clouds in the freezing air. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But my body felt hollow, as though I had already left it behind. They shoved me inside the cage. I stumbled and hit the floor hard, biting back a gasp as pain surged up my side. The door slammed shut with a metallic clang, sealing my fate. As the wheels began to turn, rolling toward the forest, I pressed my face to the bars and looked back at the village I had lived in my entire life. Not a single person met my eyes. Not even the ones who claimed to love me. The cart moved into darkness. The path into the forbidden forest was narrow and winding, the trees towering so high they swallowed the moonlight whole. Their trunks were black with age, their branches tangled like skeletal hands reaching downward. A thick mist curled around us, cold and damp, smelling faintly of iron. The driver refused to look at me. His jaw was tight, his hands trembling slightly as he clutched the reins. "He kills them quickly," he muttered finally, as if offering comfort. "You won't suffer long." I stared at him, stunned by how casually he said it. As though my death was a chore. Task checked off a list. Another distant roar echoed through the trees. The horses reared. The driver cursed. The cart jolted violently. Chains clattered. Metal groaned. Fear clawed up my spine, sharp and merciless. "Please," I whispered, though I didn't know to whom, him, the gods, or the beast stalking the shadows. "Please, someone save me." The driver didn't answer. He only urged the horses to move faster. The forest deepened into an impossible darkness, thick enough to choke the breath from my lungs. Strange sounds whispered around us, rustling leaves though no wind blew, footsteps that did not belong to any human, faint growls echoing from places I could not see. The night beast was near, watching, waiting. A strange pressure built in the air, heavy enough to make my chest ache. It felt like standing beneath an invisible weight, like the forest itself was holding its breath. The cart stopped. The driver didn't turn around. He didn't open the cage. He didn't speak. He simply unhooked the horses, slapped their flanks, and sent them sprinting down the path, leaving me alone. Then he ran after them, vanishing into the mist without a backward glance. Silence followed. Not natural silence. This was sharper, deeper, colder. A silence that swallowed sound. A silence full of teeth. I gripped the iron bars so tightly my knuckles went white. "Mira." Froze. The voice wasn't human. Wasn't animal. Wasn't anything I had ever heard. It flowed like molten stone. Deep, rough, trembling with barely restrained violence. "Mira." The air thickened. The mist swirled. And then, he stepped out of the shadows. The night beast. Massive. Horned. Glowing-eyed. Fur darker than the void and thicker than armor. muscles rippling beneath every step. Smoke curled from his mouth as he exhaled, each breath a warning of power and death. He approached the cage slowly, deliberately, as though savoring the fear radiating off my skin. Could not breathe, could not move, could not think. He circled the cage once, then again. His claws scraped against the earth. His growl vibrated through my bones. He stopped, directly in front of me, so close I could feel heat radiating from his massive body. His eyes, glowing gold, fractured with red, locked onto mine. He inhaled, slow, deep breath, as though memorizing me, as though recognizing me, as though claiming me. Terror surged inside me like wildfire, but before I could scream, something changed. The feral tension in his shoulders eased. His growl softened into something almost startled. His head tilted as though studying me. And then he stepped back. He stepped away. As though refusing to touch me. As though terrified of hurting me. Confusion hit me like a punch. Was this mercy? Or something far more dangerous? The beast lowered his head, claws carving a symbol into the dirt beneath the cage. A symbol I didn't understand. Then he turned. And vanished into the trees without killing me. Without even trying. The silence he left behind was not empty. It was a beginning, a warning, promise. The chapter ends with Mira alone in the darkness, trembling, heart racing, staring at the symbol carved beneath her. And for the first time since being chosen as tribute, she wonders, what if the beast didn't want to kill her? What if he wanted something far worse? Chapter 2. Silence became a living thing in the forest after the beast vanished. Coiling around me, crawling across my skin, sinking into my bones. Not a single bird stirred. Not a single leaf dared rustle. Even the mist held still, frozen in place as if the world itself feared drawing attention to what had just happened. The night beast had approached me, studied me, and walked away. Not because he pitied me. Not because he feared the village. Not because he lacked hunger. No. He walked away because he knew something. Something about me that I did not yet understand. My breath trembled against the cold air as I pressed myself toward the back of the cage, dragging my knees against the rough wooden floor. I could still feel the imprint of his stare, like heated claws pressed into my mind, marking me from within. "Why?" I whispered, my voice cracking. "Why didn't you kill me?" My words didn't echo. The night swallowed them whole. A gust of wind blew suddenly. Sharp, metallic, tasting faintly of blood. The torches tied to the cage flickered violently and then extinguished, leaving me in absolute darkness. I barely had time to gasp before the forest floor trembled. Something approached. Not running, not charging, but walking. Low, heavy, and hurried. The sound vibrated through the wooden wheels beneath me, each footstep echoing with dark intention. My pulse hammered against my ribs. I wrapped my arms around my body, trying to shrink myself into nothing. The footsteps stopped right beside the cage. A breath, deep, rumbling, volcanic, brushed against the bars and warmed my cheek. I squeezed my eyes shut, fighting the instinct to scream. Utter. Smoke. The faint scent of pine mixed with something darker, raw magic and ancient curse. He had returned, but he did not open the cage. He did not growl. He did not reach through the bars to rip me apart. Instead, a low, resonant sound rumbled from his chest. Not a roar, not a threat, almost confused. I opened my eyes. Through the shadows, his outline appeared. Massive shoulders shifting, horns scraping gently against a low branch. His glowing eyes burned in the darkness like twin suns, fixed on me with a focus that felt almost human. I forced breath into my lungs, tasted cold, sour with fear. "You're not going to kill me." It wasn't a question. It was a realization. A fragile truth forming in my trembling voice. The beast stilled. Then slowly, deliberately, he lowered himself to the ground. Not like a predator ready to pounce. Not like a monster preparing a feast. Like a creature trying not to frighten the thing before him. My heart stuttered. He lay there, silent, unmoving, his giant frame half-lit by the faint moon struggling through the canopy. His claws curled in slightly, withdrawing rather than threatening. He was waiting. For what I didn't know. But for the first time, I felt something even more unsettling than fear. Curiosity. I swallowed hard, my throat raw. You understand me, don't you? His eyes widened a fraction, gold brightening, embers pulsing. Confirmation. Terror and disbelief tangled together inside me, freezing my breath. The stories never said the beast could understand language. They painted him as mindless, ravenous, cursed beyond recognition, something that existed only to kill. But the creature before me, this silent, watching, impossibly still beast, was not mindless. He was waiting for me to speak again. The realization made my skin prickle. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. No answer. But his head tilted slightly as it had before, an eerily thoughtful gesture. I pressed my forehead against the cold bars, my breaths short and tight. "Why didn't you kill me?" Another rumble. Whoa. Almost pained. He stood, slowly, as though dragging against invisible restraints, and moved to the side of the cage. The ground sank beneath each step, earth cracking faintly. He raised a clawed hand and up. His claws hovered inches from the metal lock, shaking. He wanted to open it. But he didn't. Something held him back. Fear, restraint, a rule I didn't understand. With a frustrated growl, he slammed his hand against the ground instead. The impact sent a shudder through the forest floor, and dirt scattered across my feet. Then, with a guttural exhale, he scratched that same strange symbol into the earth again. The same one from earlier. A curved line intersected by two slashes, and a spiral crossing through the center. Beautiful, deliberate, haunting. My pulse skipped. "What does it mean?" I whispered. His chest rose sharply. He stepped back. And then, wind whipped through the clearing. Mist swirled upward. Branches quivered as if afraid. He vanished again. Not with footsteps. Not with rustling. One blink, and he dissolved into the darkness. I exhaled shakily. "What are you?" Breathe. Hours later, maybe minutes, maybe a lifetime, the cage jolted forward again. Not violently like before. Slowly, smoothly. Someone or something was pushing it. My eyes widened as I crawled to the front and peered through the bars. I could barely make out the shape in the dimness, but the outline was unmistakable. Horns, massive shoulders, and fur as black as the void. The beast was pushing my cage deeper into the forest, guiding me, transporting me, taking me to his lair. I clutched the bars tightly. Panic clawed at my chest, but mixed within it was something else, something I hated myself for feeling. Anticipation. The woods darkened further as ancient trees closed overhead, their branches braided by age and magic. Strange lights flickered between the trunks, pale blue, ghostly white, hovering like spirits trapped in eternal wandering. The air thickened with enchantment. My skin tingled, hairs rising. Whispers floated through the trees. Not voices but echoes. Memories. Old magic humming like distant lullabies. Finally, the forest opened into a vast clearing. And there it stood. The fortress of Blackstone. An enormous castle carved directly into a mountain of obsidian rock, its towers spiraling upward like claws grasping at the heavens. Strange runes glowed faintly along the walls, gold and crimson pulses like a heartbeat through stone. Gasp. It was beautiful, terrifying, impossible. The beast stopped behind the cage. His claws curled around the edge of the wooden frame. He pushed the cart up a ramp carved into the stone, wheels grinding softly. Then he stepped around me. My breath halted. He stood before the cage, towering over me, moonlight tracing the jagged outline of his form. Smoke curled gently from his nostrils, but his eyes were softer now, like molten gold struggling not to spill. He reached for the lock again. His claws trembled harder than before. I watched, frozen, heart pounding. He wanted to open it. He wanted to free me. He wanted something he couldn't bring himself to do. Instead, with a frustrated roar that shook dust from the fortress walls, he spun and stalked into the shadows of the great hall, leaving me in the cage, alive, untouched, confused beyond belief. The iron door behind him creaked shut, and then the chains on my cage unlocked themselves. They snapped open one by one, slowly, deliberately, as though an invisible hand guided them. My jaw dropped. Magic. Powerful magic. The door swung wide. I didn't move. I didn't dare. Something inside me screamed that this was a trick, that the moment I stepped out, claws would close around my throat. But nothing happened, only silence, and the faint hum of enchantment drifting through the air. I stepped out of the cage. My bare feet touched cold, polished stone. The ground vibrated gently beneath me, as though the fortress itself was alive, waking up, acknowledging my presence. My breath fogged in the chilled air. And a sound echoed through the great hall, slow, heavy, a step. But not the beasts. These were softer, controlled, almost human. I backed against the wall, my lungs tightening. The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the enormous carved chamber. I expected the beast. Instead, a door creaked open at the far end of the hall. Warm light spilled into the darkness, illuminating a long, shadowed corridor. Inside that light, a silhouette stood. Broad-shouldered. Not monstrous. Not human. Something in between. He didn't step out. He didn't speak. He simply stood there, half hidden in golden glow, watching me. My breath hitched. "Are you?" I whispered. My voice shook. "Are you the beast?" The figure didn't reply, but he lifted a hand, fingers long, elegant, trembling slightly, and pointed deeper into the fortress. An invitation, or a command. I didn't know which was more dangerous. Fear coiled low in my stomach. My pulse hammered. Every part of me screamed to run. But another part, the part still haunted by the beast's glowing eyes, by the trembling claws, by the strange whispered rumble, pulled me forward. I took one step, then another. The silhouette stepped back into the light, vanishing down the hall. Followed, because something told me the beast wanted me alive, needed me alive, and that was more terrifying than anything else. The corridor stretched endlessly, lined with ancient sconces that burned with faint blue fire, casting dancing shadows that clung to the walls. My fingertips brushed the stone, cool, smooth, carved with faint grooves from centuries of inscriptions. The hall opened into a chamber filled with towering bookshelves, tapestries, polished armor stands. Too clean, too organized, too intentional. A living space. Home. Not a lair. Footsteps echoed behind me. I spun around, but only the fading echo remained. "Who's there?" I whispered. No answer. Instead, a soft thrum filled the room, vibrating the air. Like the heartbeat of the fortress. Like the beast was near. Watching, judging, choosing. Something cold brushed the back of my neck. I whirled, but there was no one. My breath hitched, my pulse stumbling. Then I saw it. On a table in the corner. The same symbol. Carved into stone. Precise. Sharp. Elegant. The beast had carved it deliberately. Repeatedly. Purposefully. "What are you trying to tell me?" Breathe. Silence. Until. Voice. Low. Shaking the walls. "Mira." Froze. My heart slammed against my ribs. My knees weakened. The voice came from everywhere. From the stones, from the shadows, from the air itself. Not fully human. Not fully beast. Something trapped in between. I turned around slowly. And there he was. The night beast. Standing in the far archway. Not charging. Not snarling. Not attacking. He simply stared at me, chest rising with heavy breaths, something wounded flickering in his glowing eyes. I swallowed. "You could have killed me," I whispered. "But you didn't." "Why?" His claws tightened. His shoulders trembled. He stepped forward. Once. Close enough for his heat to wrap around me. Close enough for me to feel the rumble of his chest beneath my palms if I dared touch him. He raised his hand, slowly, carefully, as though approaching a frightened animal. I lifted mine instinctively, breath trembling. Our fingertips never touched. But the moment they hovered inches apart, the symbol carved across the room glowed. Soft gold. Warm. Alive. Magic hummed around us, curling through the air, whispering secrets I couldn't understand. The beast inhaled sharply, as though in pain, as though resisting something impossible. "Mira," he said again, voice thick with something raw. And then he turned and disappeared into the shadows without another word, leaving me with a revelation. He didn't kill me because he couldn't, because something bound us, something older than curses, something far more dangerous than death. Morning did not exist in the fortress. Light did not spill softly through windows. No sunbeams warmed the stone floors. Instead, an eerie bluish glow seeped through thin slits carved high in the walls, giving the impression that dawn was something the fortress observed from a distance, but never truly welcomed. When I opened my eyes, the air was cold enough to sting my lungs. For a moment I had forgotten where I was. Forgotten the forest. Forgotten the screams of my village. Forgotten the beast's glowing eyes and the symbol he carved as though it meant everything. But the silence reminded me. He brought me here. The night beast didn't kill me. He delivered me to his home. My throat tightened as I sat up on the edge of the bed. Not a pile of straw or a prison cot, but a real bed. Large. Covered in blankets smelling faintly of lavender and smoke. A shiver ran through me. Someone had prepared this room for me. Someone cared enough to offer warmth where death was expected. Not someone. Something. I stood slowly, the stone floor icy beneath my bare feet. My fingers brushed the carved walls, tracing grooves that radiated faint magic. This place hummed faintly, not like wind through cracks, but like a heartbeat beneath stone. Alive. Listening. Watching. My pulse quickened. A tray of food sat on the nearby table. Fresh bread. Stew that still steamed. Fruit glistening as though washed only moments ago. My stomach twisted painfully. I hadn't eaten since morning of the previous day. But who prepared this? The beast. The magic that loosened the cage. Invisible servants. The thought made the hair on my arms rise. I approached the tray carefully, half expecting it to vanish or explode or reveal itself as some kind of trick. But when I touched the bowl, the ceramic was warm. Real. I took a cautious sip. Flavor flooded my tongue. Rich, savory, comforting. Tears stung my eyes unexpectedly. Not from the heat or taste, but from the realization. Someone wanted me alive. Not valued. Not honored. Not cherished. But alive. A prisoner's life still counted as life. After eating, I moved to the heavy door at the entrance to my chamber. The metal handle was cool beneath my fingers. I gripped it and turned. Opened. The fortress allowed my escape from this room. But not from the castle. I felt that truth in my bones, like invisible strings held me within these walls. A long hallway stretched before me, lit by torches that burned with blue fire. Their flames cast soft, shifting shadows that danced like memories. My footsteps echoed faintly as I walked, my breath clouding in the cold air. I reached the end of the hall and turned left, pushing open a wooden door. Into a library. My breath caught. Towering shelves spiraled upward into shadows, filled with books bound in leather, velvet, and materials I had no name for. Some glowed faintly. Others whispered. A few pulsed with magic like slow-beating hearts. The beast lived among knowledge. He lived among stories. I stepped further, fingertips brushing spines of ancient texts. The air tasted of dust and pine, mingled with something older, like forgotten enchantments woven through time. As I reached for a book with gold lettering, a soft thud echoed behind me. I turned sharply but saw nothing. The silence deepened. Then came the footsteps. Heavy. Measured. Familiar. My heart lurched. Beast. I pressed myself against a shelf, breathing shallowly, as the footsteps grew louder. The temperature dropped, cold enough to sting my skin. He was close. But he did not enter the library. He lingered outside the doorway, his shadow stretching across the threshold. Waiting. Watching. My breath trembled. Why didn't he come in? Did the room matter to him? Did the books hold something sacred? Or was he afraid? A ridiculous thought. A monster afraid of a girl in a library. But something about the way he did not cross that doorway, how he stood utterly still as if caught between wanting and restraint, made my pulse stumble. Are you guarding me? I whispered, unable to stop myself. Silence answered. But not empty silence. Heavy silence. Weighted silence. A silence that felt like yes. I took a hesitant step toward the doorway. The beast shifted, almost imperceptibly, as though responding to my movement. A low rumble vibrated the floor, gentle yet warning. He didn't want me to come closer. Not here. Why? What are you hiding? I murmured. He growled softly, not threatening, more like a frustrated sigh. And then, he walked away. Not quickly. Not angrily. Slowly, each step deliberate, echoing down the hall until his presence dissolved into silence again. My shoulders slumped as tension drained out of me. I exhaled shakily. He was toying with me, but not in cruelty, in caution, as if my presence was dangerous to him. After exploring more corridors, a music room with a shattered harp, a dining hall set for one, a balcony overlooking mist-wrapped woods, I realized something unsettling. This place wasn't abandoned. It was lived in, maintained, cared for. Not by servants. There were no signs of life except mine. Not by creatures. I saw no footprints except claw marks that looked old. The fortress functioned, on its own. Magic kept torches lit. Magic fixed blankets. Magic prepared food. Someone who didn't wish to be seen was doing it. My thoughts spiraled as I returned to the hallway where the beast had stood. His scent still lingered, smoke, cold metal, wild forest. I walked the opposite direction. A long corridor wound through the heart of the castle, ending at a set of enormous double doors carved from blackwood. The same symbol from before was etched into the center. My blood chilled. The beast had carved this symbol everywhere I went. On walls. On floors. On objects. But this was the largest, deepest carving yet. My hand trembled as I reached out and traced it. The moment my skin touched the symbol, magic surged beneath my palm. A pulse of warmth ran up my arm into my chest, then through my whole body. My breath hitched, my knees weakening. The symbol glowed faintly gold. What are you? I whispered, my voice barely audible. The doors didn't open, but a faint sound drifted from behind them. Breathing. Low. Faint. Beast. I stepped back instinctively, heart hammering. Was he sleeping in there? Hiding? Guarding something? I pressed my ear to the wood. Another breath. Another low, agonized growl. Not fearsome. Not violent. Suffering. My chest tightened. He was in pain. But why? I rested my palm against the symbol again, heart pounding for reasons I didn't understand. Beast, I whispered. Are you there? Silence. A claw tapped once on the other side of the door. Not scraping. Not threatening. Responding. My breath caught. Why are you hiding from me? Long pause. Another tap. Hesitant. Like he didn't have an answer. Or like he didn't want me to hear the one he did. Fear prickled across my skin. Not of him, but of what he wasn't telling me. What's behind this door? Yes. Silence again. But I felt the unspoken truth thrumming through the wood. Something he didn't want me to see. Something that could change everything. I took a step back, suddenly aware of how vulnerable I was. The beast made no move to open the doors. But his breathing quickened just slightly. Just enough for me to hear the distress in it. Curse. A wound. Secret. Something wrought inside the fortress walls. A cold draft moved through the hallway, flickering the torches. I wrapped my arms around myself and turned away from the doors. As I walked back, the sensation of being watched intensified. Every shadow felt like eyes. Every whisper of wind felt like breath on my neck. But when I turned, no one was there. Yet I wasn't alone. The beast followed me. Always just beyond the light. Always just out of reach. When I paused, his footsteps paused. When I continued, his followed. Fear should have consumed me. But instead, something else bloomed in its place. Strange comfort. Terrible curiosity. A magnetic pull that tugged at the edges of my soul. Why me? Why spare me? Why guard me? The questions echoed through my mind like footsteps in an empty hall. That night, I lay awake in the lavender-scented bed, staring at the ceiling. I replayed every moment. The cage, the forest, the glowing eyes, the trembling claws, the symbol pulsing beneath my touch, the beast's pained breaths behind the forbidden door. What did he want? What did he know? What was he afraid of? Sleep pulled at me gently until my eyelids grew heavy. And just before darkness claimed me, a sound echoed through my chamber. A step, low, deliberate. I didn't move. The air shifted. The room darkened. Heat pooled near the edge of the bed. He was here. Beast. He stood beside me, his shadow immense, his breath warm and ragged. Fear prickled down my spine, but my body remained still, frozen, waiting. The mattress dipped slightly, barely, but enough to know he had leaned close. His breath brushed the side of my neck. A shudder ran through me. Not fear. Not revulsion. Something darker. Something forbidden. Something I didn't dare name. His voice rumbled across my skin, soft as a dying fire. Mira. I swallowed, throat tight. What do you want from me? He didn't answer. But his claws, gentle, trembling, brushed the blanket covering my arm. A touch that didn't break skin. A touch that didn't harm. A touch that begged for something. Connection. Recognition. Forgiveness. He stayed there a long time, breathing softly, as though memorizing my presence. He stood, turned, and left the room with a soft, agonized growl trailing behind him. The torches outside flickered as his shadow passed. Silence returned. But it was no longer empty. It was full of secrets, full of promises, full of the truth I was beginning to see. This fortress wasn't my prison. It was his. And I was not his prey. I was something far more dangerous to him. The chapter ends with Mira whispering into the silence. What are you so afraid I'll discover? And somewhere deep within the fortress, the beast growls an answer. A sound of fear, longing, and a secret begging to break. Chapter 4. Storms in the Forbidden Forest were not like storms in the mortal world. They didn't begin with clouds gathering on the horizon or with thunder rolling gently in the distance. They began with silence. A thick, suffocating silence that pressed against the skin like hands trying to smother breath. A silence that carried a warning so ancient, even the oldest trees shuddered beneath its weight. I felt that silence long before the first rumble. It seeped through the stone walls of the fortress, curling around my ankles, sliding up my spine like a cold whisper urging me to stay inside. But I didn't listen. Not because I was brave, but because I was desperate. Desperate for answers. Desperate to understand why the beast knew my name. Desperate to know what bound him to me in ways he clearly did not want to admit. The hallways darkened as clouds gathered above the fortress, blocking out even the faint blue glow that usually filtered through the tall slits. The torches flickered wildly, protesting the sudden draft of wind that spiraled through the corridors. I pulled my thin shawl tighter around my shoulders, my footsteps echoing in the stone hallway. The door with the carved symbol, the beast's forbidden chamber, loomed behind me as I walked away from it. Its silence had grown heavier in the last hours, as though the creature inside struggled against something I could not see. Something that didn't want me near. The thought stung. I reached the fortress's outer balcony, The only place where fresh air could touch my skin without the taste of enchantment. Rain had not begun yet, but the clouds churned overhead, deep purple and violent silver, swirling like a prophecy about to break. Cold wind whipped my hair across my face. I closed my eyes, sucking in the crisp, metallic scent of the storm. Anything felt better than the suffocating stillness inside the fortress walls, where every corner seemed to watch me, where every breath of magic whispered secrets I wasn't yet meant to know. I needed distance. Clarity. I needed to remember what it felt like to be human, and not a living question mark trapped in a beast's lair. I leaned over the balcony railing and froze. Tracks. Large, deep claw marks carved into the stone floor leading down the spiral path that wound behind the fortress. Fresh, sharp edge. Not yet washed by rain. He had been outside. Recently. Watching. My pulse stuttered. A distant rumble vibrated through the sky. I should have turned back. Should have waited out the storm. Should have stayed where the beast expected me to remain. But hesitation was replaced by something else. A fierce, reckless need to understand him. The truth lived in the forest. In the shadows he disappeared into. In the secrets he refused to show me. I gripped the railing, swung one leg over, and climbed down the side of the balcony. Pain shot through my palms as I grasped the cold stone, lowering myself carefully until my feet touched the narrow ledge below. The forest stretched before me like a different world, alive with movement from the approaching storm. Wind bent the ancient trees. Shadows pulsed with electric anticipation. Lightning flickered deep within the clouds like eyes opening for the first time. My breath fogged in the cold air as I stepped onto the spiral path. I followed the claw marks, down the slope, into the thicket, beyond the boundaries of the beast's allowed spaces. The moment my foot crossed into the dense tree line, the wind howled through the forest. A warning. Curse. Plea. I ignored it. Thunder cracked the sky open like bone splitting. Rain poured down in a sudden furious torrent, soaking me to the skin within seconds. The cold was enough to numb my fingers, my toes, the tip of my nose. But adrenaline pushed me forward, feet slipping on wet roots and moss. Beast! I shouted into the storm, voice swallowed by the wind. I know you're here. Lightning illuminated the forest in a brilliant flash. And I saw him, just for a heartbeat. To my left, half hidden between two twisted trees. His massive silhouette, shoulders hunched as though in pain, horns glinting faintly, eyes glowing like molten gold. Then darkness swallowed him again. Wait! I ran toward where I'd seen him, heart hammering. The mud sucked at my feet, pulling me backward, but I forced myself onward. Branches lashed at my arms and face. The storm screamed around me, urging me to turn back. I didn't. Another flash of lightning, and there he was again, closer this time. Watching me. Not attacking. Not fleeing. Watching. I skidded to a stop, panting, rain dripping down my eyelashes. Why won't you answer me? I cried, breathless. Why won't you speak? The beast's chest heaved with rough breaths, steam rising from his fur in the cold rain. He stepped forward slowly, carefully, deliberately. Every step felt like a decision. Thunder cracked so loudly the ground shook beneath my feet. My balance faltered, and a tree branch snapped overhead. I didn't see it falling, but he did. In a single, fluid motion, the beast lunged toward me. Massive arms wrapped around my waist. Claws curled without piercing skin. His body collided with mine as he shielded me with his form. The branch smashed into the ground where I had stood a heartbeat earlier, sending splinters flying. For a moment the world stopped. His breath warmed my cheek despite the icy rain. His heartbeat thudded against my ribs. His arms, gentle despite their monstrous power, held me against him. A shiver rolled through me, confusion tangling with fear and something even more dangerous. Something like longing. Slowly, he loosened his hold. I tilted my head up, rain dripping from my chin. His glowing eyes met mine. And in that moment everything changed. Lightning flashed, illuminating the anguish in his gaze. He inhaled sharply. In a voice rough like stone cracking under pressure, a voice that didn't sound like a monster at all, he whispered, "Mira." Name. Spoken like a prayer. Spoken like a curse. Spoken like a memory. My breath left my body in a single trembling gasp. "You." My voice faltered. "You can speak." His massive body shuddered as though the act had cost him something terrible. His claws dug into the mud to steady himself. His head lowered, horns glinting beneath the storm's fury. He spoke again, softer, broken. "Mira." I stepped closer without thinking, my hands shaking. Rain soaked my dress, plastering it to my skin. Lightning lit the forest again, revealing the impossible emotion in the beast's eyes. "Why do you know my name?" I whispered. His breath caught. He turned his head away, not out of anger, out of shame. For a long moment he said nothing. His silence trembled. His shoulders trembled. His soul trembled. "Please," I said, my voice breaking. "Tell me." Wind roared through the clearing. Lightning flashed again. And for the first time I saw something I never expected. A single drop of water rolling down his furred cheek. Not rain. Terror. The beast. This creature who killed every tribute before me, the monster who haunted legends and destroyed anything that moved, was crying. And I didn't know why. He took a step back, shaking his head violently, as though fighting something inside him. The ground splintered beneath his claws. "Beast!" I reached for him, ignoring the instinct screaming at me to run. He recoiled as if my touch burned. He turned and fled into the storm, disappearing with supernatural speed. "Wait!" I stumbled forward. "Don't leave, wait." My words were lost in thunder. He was gone. Again. But this time, the emptiness he left behind felt different. Not like abandonment. Not like rejection. Felt like fear. His fear. Fear of me. Fear of what he knew. Fear of what speaking my name would unleash. I sank to my knees in the mud, shaking, rain pounding against my skin so hard it felt like needles. The storm raged. The forest trembled. And for the first time I realized. The beast wasn't just cursed. He was breaking. Breaking because of me. Hours later, after the storm faded and the forest quieted into uneasy stillness, I found my way back to the fortress. Every torch inside flared as I entered, lighting my path automatically. The air hummed with agitation, as though the magic within the walls felt his turmoil. I froze when I reached the grand hall. Blood. Deep claw marks gouged across the floor. He had returned. But not peacefully. I followed the trail, heart hammering. It led to the forbidden door with the symbol. His symbol. The wood was splintered, cracked inward, as though he had thrown himself against it, but hadn't entered. I pressed my palm to the carved lines. Warmth pulsed beneath my fingertips. Magic stirred. Pain stirred. The beast stirred on the other side. "Beast," I whispered, forehead leaning against the door. Rainwater dripped from my hair onto the wood. Silence answered. But not the cold, empty silence of before. This one was ragged. Fragile. Frayed. A soft, pained exhale vibrated through the door. My eyes flooded with tears. "It's okay," I whispered. "I'm not afraid of you." A low growl trembled back. Not threatening. Disbelieving. As though he were telling me, "You should be." But I wasn't. Not anymore. Because beneath his monstrous form, beneath the glowing eyes and claws, beneath the violence he forced himself to hold back, there was something painfully human. Something that knew my name. Something that mourned. Something that remembered. But how? Why? From where? Before I could ask, a soft click echoed inside the wall. Message. Sign. An invitation. The door remained shut. But the symbol beneath my hand glowed brighter. A promise of revelations to come. A warning that the truth, once known, could not be undone. The chapter ends with Mira whispering through the door. "Tell me who you are." And on the other side, The beast answers with a sound that is neither a roar nor a word, but something heartbreakingly close to a man begging for forgiveness. Chapter 5. The morning after the storm felt wrong. Not because the sky was still bruised purple at the edges, or because the forest dripped with the aftermath of the violent downpour. It felt wrong because the fortress was too quiet. Terribly quiet. No soft rumble of footsteps in the hall. No shadow passing outside my door. No warm, smoky scent lingering in the air. It was as though the beast had vanished. Not physically, because I could feel him in the walls, in the floor, in the trembling pulse of magic throughout the fortress. But he was hiding. Withdrawing. Retreating deeper into whatever curse held him captive. And he was doing it because of me. The thought twisted painfully inside my chest. I left my chamber, the stone floor cold beneath my bare feet, and followed the long corridor that wound deep into the heart of the fortress. The torches flickered low, as though conserving their flames. Each step echoed softly, swallowed by the stillness around me. I was being watched. Not by eyes I could see, but by something older, something woven into the castle's bones. The magic itself. It hummed faintly along the walls, pulsing like a heartbeat. Live. Alert. Aware. As though guiding me. Or warning me. I reached a narrow staircase spiraling downward. I had never explored this part of the fortress before. Something had always kept me away. Instinct, fear, or subtle magical nudges that guided me elsewhere. But today nothing stopped me. The air grew colder as I descended, carrying the scent of damp stone and ancient parchment. At the bottom of the stairs stood a half-open door, cracked just enough for light to spill into the hallway. Soft golden glow. Not firelight. Not torchlight. Something sacred. My footsteps hesitated. Inside, a faint hum vibrated, gentle but powerful, like whispered magic waiting to be heard. I pushed the door open, and froze. The chamber beyond was enormous. Round, domed, and carved entirely from Blackstone. But the walls were not plain. They were covered in paintings. Murals stretching from floor to ceiling, each stroke glowing faintly with golden light. Scenes of battles, kingdoms, rituals. And at the center of it all, Prince. A tall, raven-haired man with sharp features, eyes like molten gold, and a regal stance carved in dozens of artistic renditions across the walls. He appeared again and again, surrounded by moonlight, shadows, and kings kneeling before him. I stepped closer, breath trembling. In each mural, the prince looked different, sometimes fierce, sometimes grieving, sometimes kneeling before ancient gods carved in fractured stone. But the final mural stopped my heart. It showed the prince being swallowed by a monstrous silhouette, a creature with horns, claws, and eyes blazing with torment. The transformation was depicted in painful detail. Bones cracking, skin splitting, magic ripping through his form like lightning. Underneath the mural, runes glowed faintly. Curse. An ancient one. My fingers brushed the stone, and magic flared beneath my touch. Warm, trembling, almost desperate. The mural pulsed. And then, the golden light flickered to life, illuminating the final lines of the inscription. Cursed to become beast by night, until the soul he remembers breaks his chains. The breath escaped me in a single, trembling gasp. Soul he remembers, I whispered. My pulse quickened. Could that be me? Didn't make sense. I had never met a prince. Never been to his kingdom. Never spoken to anyone outside my village. And yet, the beast knew my name. He had spoken it with the voice of a creature who remembered it from somewhere deeper than memory. As though I was a piece of a life he had lost. A life stolen. A life he wanted back. My fingers traced the glowing runes again, and a soft vibration thrummed through my bones. This was no simple curse. This was a binding, one fueled by betrayal, pain, and blood. What happened to you? I whispered, eyes scanning the swirling gold strokes of the mural. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the next panel. It showed the prince surrounded by advisors. His face twisted in anguish. His soldiers betraying him. A dagger plunged into his back by a cloaked figure. Blood poured onto the stone floor, forming the same symbol the beast carved everywhere. The symbol of the curse. The one etched on the floor when he spared me. The one glowing beneath my touch. The symbol of a soul he remembered. My breath trembled. "I don't understand," I whispered. "How could you know me? Why me?" The golden light flickered. My voice cracked. "Who cursed you?" The murals changed tone deeper into the room, growing darker, more violent. Flames, screams, shadows twisting into monstrous forms. A crown shattered in half. But the final image, that one made my blood run cold. It depicted a girl. A young woman with long dark hair and a simple dress. She stood in front of the beast, unafraid, unarmed, untouched. His massive claws hovered above her, trembling, unable to harm her. The girl looked like me. Not exactly, but enough to steal the breath from my lungs. Enough to turn my stomach cold. "Is that supposed to be me?" I whispered. A low growl answered. It spun. The beast stood in the doorway. His fur was slick with rain, dripping onto the stone floor. His shoulders heaved with deep, ragged breaths. His claws curled at his sides, stained with dried mud and streaks of red. His eyes were pure torment. Golden, fractured, glowing like broken stars. For a long moment, neither of us moved. He stepped into the chamber. The murals flared brighter in response, their golden light illuminating his monstrous form. He walked slowly, almost painfully, toward the central mural, the one showing the prince's transformation. His claws lifted, and he touched the carving of the prince's face. Soft, broken sound escaped him. Not a growl, not a roar. Something human, something grieving. My chest tightened painfully. "You were him," I whispered. His head turned sharply, eyes locking onto mine. "You're the prince." The beast inhaled sharply, a painful, shuddering breath that shook his whole body. Magic crackled through the room. He didn't deny it. He didn't need to. The murals told the truth the kingdom had forgotten. He was the prince swallowed by a curse. The ruler betrayed and abandoned. The soul trapped inside a monstrous body every night. And I was the tribute he refused to kill. 'Cause he remembered me. But from where? "How do you know my name?" I whispered, voice cracking. He flinched. His claws dug into the stone floor. His breath grew harsher. His shoulders trembled violently, as though the truth was something he couldn't speak, not because he didn't want to, but because the curse forbade it. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating both of us in stark white. The beast turned his head toward the mural showing the girl, the one who resembled me. His rumble was soft, vain, confirming. My legs weakened. "But I don't remember you," I said, heart pounding. "How could I? I've never seen you before." The beast's eyes dimmed. He lowered his head as though struck. Guilt surged in my chest. "I didn't mean." I stepped forward. He recoiled violently, claws carving trenches into the floor. His breath came in harsh, choking snarls. His massive frame shook, as though he was fighting an invisible chain. As though he was holding himself back. As though the urge to reach for me warred with the curse inside him. "Beast," I whispered, "what did they do to you?" His jaw clenched. His eyes glowed brighter. He raised one trembling claw, and pointed to the final mural. The girl. Me. Lightning flashed again, thunder rattling the chamber, illuminating the truth. He believed I was the key to breaking the curse. But he was terrified of what that meant. "Why me?" I whispered, stepping closer to the mural. He growled sharply, not at me but at himself, as though punishing himself for letting me near this truth. A tear, thick and molten gold, fell from his eye and hit the floor. My heart cracked. He wasn't just cursed. He wasn't just broken. He was grieving. Grieving a life stolen. Kingdom fallen. A memory that haunted him every time he looked at me. I stepped closer. "Beast," I said softly, "look at me." He froze. Slowly, his glowing eyes lifted, meeting mine. "I'm not her," I whispered. "I don't remember you. I don't know who you were. But I can learn. I can understand you." His breath stuttered. His claws loosened. His shoulders eased. Only a fraction. "I'm not afraid of you," I said gently. A violent growl ripped from his throat. "Not at me." The words. He shook his head wildly, stepping backward. His body trembled so fiercely the murals flickered, their light breaking into shards across the walls. He wasn't afraid of me. He was afraid for me. The curse pulsed around him like a living force, tightening its grip as he fought it. "Beast, what happens if I help you break the curse?" My voice was trembling, but I forced the words out. His eyes shut. A long, pained exhale escaped him, as though the answer was too dangerous to say. Suddenly, the runes beneath our feet glowed. Magic surged upward, crackling like lightning. The murals pulsed. The walls vibrated. The beast roared, a sound of agony, not rage, and stumbled backward into the shadows. The lights dimmed. The magic stilled. The chamber fell silent. He had been forced to leave. Forced to run. Forced to hide the truth from me before the curse punished him further. I pressed my hand against the mural of the prince one last time. Warmth pulsed beneath my fingertips. And the beating truth echoed through my bones. He remembers me. But I don't remember him. And the curse is killing him because of it. Who was I to you? And somewhere deep inside the fortress, the beast answers with a roar so heartbreaking it shakes dust from the ceiling. A roar that sounds like a man losing himself all over again. Chapter 6. I did not sleep that night. I couldn't, not after what I had seen, not after what the murals whispered, not after the beast tore himself away from me as though protecting me from his own truth. Instead, I walked the corridors of the fortress, bare feet brushing across smooth stone warmed by faint enchantment. The silence wrapped around me like a cloak, heavy, thinking, aware. No footsteps echoed behind me, yet the air carried a presence, a watchfulness. He was there, not near, but not far, always lingering, always aware of where I stepped, as though guarding me from shadows I couldn't see, or guarding himself from me. My fingertips skimmed the walls as I moved deeper into the fortress, the memory of his agonized roar still thrumming faintly in my bones. I couldn't forget the way he looked at the mural of the prince, as though mourning a reflection he could no longer claim. I couldn't forget the way he had shielded me from the falling branch, the way his claws had trembled when he spoke my name, the way his eyes had softened at the sight of me, glowing with a warmth that unsettled me more deeply than his snarls ever could. What was I to him? A memory? A ghost? A promise he clung to because his mind had been fractured by centuries of torment? Or was it something newer? Something forming in the quiet spaces between fear and longing? I shook the thought away. This was a curse. A tragedy sculpted in shadow and blood. Not a romance. But the fortress disagreed. The torches brightened whenever I passed. Doors opened before I touched them. Magic hummed softly around my fingertips. As though the castle itself wanted me here. As though it recognized me. My wandering stopped when I found myself at the entrance of a long hallway lined with tall windows. Moonlight spilled in through them, pooling onto the smooth stone in glowing silver patterns. For the first time since I arrived, the fortress felt peaceful. I stepped into the light, breathing in the crisp night air drifting through cracks in the window frames. Outside, fog curled along the edge of the forest like ghostly fingers brushing the earth. A soft thud echoed behind me. I didn't turn. I didn't need to. Felt him. The air shifted, growing heavy and warm. Shadows stretched. The faint scent of smoke and pine wrapped around me like a warning and a greeting. My breath hitched. Slowly I turned. The beast stood several paces away, half hidden in shadow, as though afraid the light might expose too much of him. His enormous frame was tense, muscles rippling beneath dark fur. His claws glinted faintly, but his eyes held the same aching softness as the night before. Golden. fractured, searching. We stood there in silence, the moonlight painting silver lines between us. My voice came out softer than I intended. You've been avoiding me. His chest rose sharply, guilt, anger, fear. I couldn't tell. He took a step forward. I held my ground. Another step. The moonlight reached him now, draping across his shoulders. The shadows peeled away, revealing details I hadn't noticed before. The faint shimmer of runes etched along his arms like scars, the way his horns curved in elegant arcs, the subtle tremor of his hands as though he fought some invisible force. He stopped just at the edge of the moonlight, as though crossing fully into it would break something sacred. My heartbeat quickened, but not from fear. From recognition of something fragile forming between us. He lowered himself to the floor slowly, the stone groaning under his weight. His movement was careful, controlled, as though trying not to startle me. He wanted me to stay, to not run, to not fear him. My breath trembled. "Why won't you speak?" I whispered. His jaw clenched. A rumble vibrated in his chest, weak, pained, caught somewhere between a growl and a breath. He shook his head as though the curse itself tightened around his throat whenever he tried. He couldn't speak. Not because he wouldn't, because he wasn't allowed. And the realization hit me like a blow. Whatever bound him in this monstrous form didn't just twist his body. It strangled his voice. Controlled his ability to answer questions. Protected secrets the curse refused to let him reveal. I stepped closer. A low growl rumbled from him. Instinctive, not threatening, like a warning for my sake, not his. "It's all right," I murmured. "I trust you." He flinched violently, claws scraping the floor. As though trust was something he believed he didn't deserve. I moved closer anyway until only a few steps separated us. His breath warmed my skin. His gaze dragged across my face. Slow, deliberate, aching. He didn't back away. The trembling in his hands worsened as I extended mine, palm upward in silent invitation. His breathing grew ragged. His claws flexed. His entire body tensed as though holding himself together took every shred of strength he had left. Slowly, so slowly, he lifted one massive hand. Our hands hovered inches apart. Heat radiated from him, tingling along my fingers. Magic hummed faintly, drawn to the space between our skin like a moth to flame. "Beast," I whispered. He made a sound so soft, so broken it barely reached my ears. Plea. Or a warning. He touched me. Not claws, not fur, but the back of one trembling knuckle, brushing lightly against my palm. The smallest touch. Barely there. Yet it shot through me like lightning. Heat surged up my arm. Magic pulsed beneath my skin. My breath caught as my whole body shivered. His touch lingered. Tentative. Curious. Worshipping. As though he had been starving for contact but denied it for centuries. I let my fingers curl around the edge of his massive hand. He froze. Completely. As though the universe itself had stopped to watch. His eyes widened, glowing brighter, reflecting me in their molten depths. His breath came in a harsh exhale, trembling with something deeper than hunger, deeper than pain. Longing. Terrifying, soul-deep longing. "Mira," he whispered, voice strangled. My heart cracked. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." He made a sound. A soft, desperate whine I never would have imagined a creature like him could produce. He leaned forward, pressing his forehead gently against my palm, eyes closing. Warmth flooded through me. Suddenly, the bond forming between us was unmistakable. Not familiar. Not romantic. Not destiny. Something more dangerous. Recognition. He recognized something in me. Something the curse remembered even if I didn't. But before I could speak, magic surged violently along his arms, his shoulders, his spine. He roared, not at me but in pain. The moonlight flickered, darkening for a heartbeat before returning. He pulled away abruptly, stumbling back as though burned by my touch. His claws dug into the stone floor. His breath came in desperate, frantic bursts. "Beast!" I cried, reaching out. He recoiled violently. His entire body shuddered, collapsing against the far wall. His breathing grew harsh, erratic. Magic crackled over his skin, faint golden sparks that flickered like dying fireflies. The curse was tightening, punishing him, hurting him. "'Cause he touched me." "No," I whispered, horror twisting inside me. "Stop, please, stop fighting it." He shook his head violently, slamming his clawed hands against the ground, trying to keep himself from lunging forward, as though a darker part of the curse wanted him to harm me. His chest heaved. His eyes flickered wildly. His growl vibrated the walls. Yet he didn't move toward me. He fought it. Every inch of him fought. And I saw the truth in that moment. Even in agony, even with the curse tearing him apart, even with primal instinct burning in his veins, he refused to hurt me. Not because the curse forbade it, but because he forbade it. Slowly, painfully, the violent shuddering subsided. He crouched low, panting, his head lowered as though ashamed. My heart twisted. "Beast!" I whispered, stepping toward him. He growled, not at me but at himself, as though begging me to stay away for my own safety. "Stop." Silence fell. Fragile. Full of unsaid confessions. "You're not a monster," I said softly. His breath hitched. "You're fighting so hard to protect me." "Why?" He didn't answer. Couldn't answer. But his eyes answered for him. Gold. Brilliant. Broken. Filled with a truth he wished he could speak. The silence stretched until finally I whispered, "What am I to you?" He closed his eyes. A soft, pained exhale left his throat. He still couldn't speak the answer. The curse held his voice in chains. But he lifted his hand, slowly, trembling, and pointed toward a door at the end of the hallway. A place I hadn't seen before. A place glowing faintly with light. An invitation. To what I didn't yet know. But it was a step deeper into his secrets. A step deeper into his world. A step closer to the truth he was terrified to reveal. He lowered his hand and sunk into the shadows, disappearing into a corner of darkness where moonlight couldn't reach him. Not fleeing. Not hiding. Watching. Waiting for me to choose. I turned to the glowing door. My heart pounded as I walked toward it. Behind me, the beast let out a soft, rumbling breath. A sound that wasn't a warning. A sound that begged, "Please don't run from me." The chapter ends as Mira reaches for the door handle, whispering, "If you won't tell me who I am, I'll find out myself." And on the other side of the hall, the beast's eyes flash with fear. Because he knows the truth waiting behind that door could shatter both of them. Chapter 7. The glowing door called to me like a heartbeat trapped behind wood. Its golden light pulsed softly, slow and steady, illuminating the dark hallway where the beast had just disappeared into shadow. The fortress itself seemed to hold its breath, every torch dimming slightly, every whisper of magic going still. The beast didn't follow me, didn't growl to stop me, didn't move at all. His massive silhouette remained carved into the corner of the hall, invisible except for the faint glimmer of his eyes. Watching, waiting, fearing. Not for himself. For me. My hand trembled as I reached toward the door's carved handle. It was warm, almost alive. The moment my fingertips brushed it, the golden runes etched across the surface pulsed beneath my skin. A soft exhale of magic swept past my ear, stirring my hair. Something inside this room mattered. Deeply, dangerously, personally. I inhaled slowly, then pushed the door open. Warm light spilled outward, washing over me in a rush of memory-scented air, like parchment and ink, old wood and faint lavender. The room was large, circular, with high ceilings supported by carved pillars. Sunlight, not torchlight, filtered through a skylight overhead, scattering golden beams across the space. And everywhere I looked, paintings, dozens, hundreds. They lined the walls, stacked on tables, leaned against pillars, hung from strings. Some were large enough to cover entire sections of stone. Others were small portraits painted on smooth wooden panels. My breath caught in my throat. They were all of one person. The same girl. The same face. Soft eyes. Dark hair. Gentle smile. Sometimes she was laughing. Sometimes she was crying. Sometimes she was sitting beneath a tree reading. Sometimes she stood in moonlight, staring at something far away. And in every single painting, she looked like me. My knees weakened. My heart stilled. My voice cracked. What is this? I stepped forward, trembling fingers brushing a canvas showing the girl. Showing me, as a child, bare feet dipped in a stream, sunlight reflected in her eyes. This can't be real, I whispered. A soft sound broke the silence. Footstep. A shift of fur. Trembling breath. He was behind me. I didn't need to turn to know. His presence filled the room, warm, heavy, trembling like a storm-laden cloud. The paintings glowed faintly, reacting to his nearness. My heart pounded. Slowly I turned. He stood in the doorway, enormous frame blocking out the hall behind him. His claws dug into the floor as though resisting the instinct to retreat. But his eyes were wide, terrified, vulnerable. Like he had been caught standing naked in a memory he never thought I'd see. For a moment neither of us spoke. The torches flickered. Magic thickened. My breath came shallow. Did you paint these? I whispered. The beast didn't move. His chest rose sharply. His claws tightened. His eyes flickered with a truth he couldn't speak. Yes. The answer lived in the silence. A tear pricked behind my eyes. Why me? My voice broke. Why this face? Why do you remember me when I don't remember you? His jaw clenched. He stepped backward, shaking his head violently. The curse forbade him. It wrapped chains around his voice, his memories, his truth. I took a step toward him. He flinched, not from fear of me but fear for me. Lightning flashed outside the skylight, illuminating his trembling form. Golden sparks crawled across his arms, the curse reacting to his struggle to speak. I reached for a painting on the nearby table, a portrait of the girl sitting beside an enormous wolf, both illuminated by moonlight. The wolf's eyes were unmistakably his. A shard of air caught in my throat. You knew me, I whispered. You knew me from before the curse. You, he roared. Not in rage. Not in warning. In pain. Violent pain. Magic snapped across the room, flaring like wildfire. Every torch extinguished at once. Darkness swallowed the chamber except for the faint glow of the paintings. The beast collapsed to one knee, claws gouging deep trenches into the stone floor. No, stop. I rushed toward him. He lifted a claw, begging me not to come closer. But I couldn't stop. Beast, listen to me. His body contorted, spine arching as golden fire burned beneath his skin. He wasn't transforming. He wasn't fighting his instincts. He was fighting the curse. A deep, guttural sound tore from his chest, a sound of a man strangled by magic, forced into silence. He slammed a fist against the ground, breath ripping out of him in harsh, broken snarls. I dropped to my knees in front of him, reaching out, and he jerked backwards, snarling, not at me, but at the curse trying to force him to harm me. He turned his claws inward. He would sooner tear himself apart than lay a finger on me. Tears blurred my vision. Please, I whispered. Stop hurting yourself. But he couldn't. The curse demanded obedience. The curse demanded silence. The curse demanded separation. And touching me, revealing the truth to me, was breaking him. I cupped his face gently between my shaking hands. His breath froze. His body stilled. He stared at me with wide, tormented eyes. The curse pulsed beneath his skin. I braced myself. His claws hovered inches from my sides, trembling violently. One wrong move and they would slice through me. But he held still, fought still, endured still. Look at me, I whispered, voice trembling. You're not alone. You don't have to fight this alone. A soft sound broke from him, half growl, half sob. Up. The beast began to shake uncontrollably, his breath hitching in ragged bursts. His eyes squeezed shut. He leaned into my hands, as though grounding himself, as though using me as an anchor to stop the curse from consuming him whole. My heart shattered. Let me help you, I whispered. You don't have to carry this alone. At my words, something in him broke. His entire body shuddered. The glow beneath his skin dimmed. The snarls faded into shallow breaths. Slowly, slowly, he opened his eyes again. They were softer, golden, haunted, human. He raised one clawed hand, trembling as it approached my cheek. I didn't flinch. His knuckle brushed my skin, light as a whisper. A breath caught in his throat. His shoulders eased. His trembling lessened. Something shifted between us in that moment. Something fragile, terrifying, undeniable. A bond was forming. A bond that should not exist. A bond the curse would destroy him for. And then I saw it. On the table beside us. A journal. Old leather. Cracked spine. My name etched faintly on the cover. Mira. Cold prickled down my spine. I reached toward it. The beast roared. A roar that shook the chamber, but he didn't lunge. He didn't move. Because the curse held him back. His claws carved into the floor as he shook his head frantically, eyes wide with fear. He didn't want me to see it. He didn't want me to know. Which meant he needed to. My fingers brushed the journal cover. The beast let out a soul-shattering sound. Stop, I whispered, tears spilling down my cheeks. I have to know. He collapsed. His entire massive body fell to the floor with a tremor that rattled dust from the ceiling. Not because I touched the journal. Because the curse struck him down for letting me near it. A strangled noise escaped his throat. His claws dug bloody marks into the stone. His breath came in short, agonized bursts. I fell to his side. Beast, Kale, please stop fighting it. Please, please, just breathe, please. But he couldn't. The magic raged beneath his skin like wildfire, tearing through him in violent pulses. I grabbed his shaking hand. His breath froze. Our skin touched. And for a moment, the curse paused. Only a moment, but long enough for him to look at me. Long enough for his lips to tremble with a word he couldn't say. Long enough for me to understand. He wasn't afraid of me learning the truth. He was afraid the truth would kill him. And the chapter ends with Mira opening the journal as the beast collapses beside her, tortured and shaking, unable to stop her, knowing that what she is about to read will shatter everything between them. Chapter 8. The journal trembled in my hands as though alive. Its leather cover was cracked, softened by age and handling, edges frayed from being opened and closed too many times. My name, Mira, glimmered faintly beneath a thin layer of dust, carved in delicate strokes as if by someone who cherished every letter. Behind me, the beast lay collapsed on the floor. His body trembled beneath the weight of the curse, tendons pulling tight beneath fur and muscle, claws digging so hard into the stone floor that cracks spread outward like veins. Every breath he dragged in sounded like a battle lost, like the curse was strangling him from the inside. His eyes, usually so bright, molten, alive, were dim, but they never left me. Even in agony, even barely conscious, he watched me, begging without words, pleading in silence, terrified by what I was about to discover. My heart hammered painfully inside my chest. I knelt beside him, pressing my palm to his trembling shoulder. Kale, I whispered, because I had no doubt now that the beast was once the prince. Kale, look at me. He lifted his head weakly, breath hitching. His eyes met mine. And in their shattered gold, I saw the truth. He didn't want me to open that journal. Not because of the curse. Not because of danger. But because the contents would break me. Break us. Tears blurred my vision. I need to know, I whispered. Please forgive me. His body seized with a violent tremor. He tried, truly tried, to lift his hand and stop me. But the curse forced him down. And for the first time since meeting him, I realized something horrifying. The curse didn't just control his body. It punished him for caring, for remembering, for wanting to protect me. That truth gutted me. My fingers tightened around the journal. "I'm sorry," I whispered, voice cracking. "I have to." With trembling hands I opened it. The first page stole my breath. A child's drawing, crude, shakily drawn, of a little girl with long hair holding hands with a boy wearing a crooked crown. Underneath it, written in messy, uneven letters, "Mira and Kale, best friends, forever." The room swayed around me. My lungs froze. My hands shook violently. Whoa. No, this wasn't possible. I flipped the page. There we were again, older this time, playing in the castle gardens. My childish handwriting filled the margins. "Kale likes to read to me. Kale says I'm brave. Kale says he'll always protect me." Tears splashed onto the page before I even realized I was crying. I turned another page. Another drawing. Another memory. Kale snuck bread from the kitchens again. Kale says I'm his favorite person. Kale says he never wants me to leave. My lips trembled. My heart cracked. I didn't remember this. I didn't remember him. But he had remembered me every moment since. My knees buckled. I fell fully to the floor beside him. "Kale!" My voice broke. "Why did I forget you?" A soft, broken rumble escaped him. Not an answer. Plea. I turned the pages with shaking fingers. As we grew older in the journal entries, the tone shifted. Shadows darkened the edges of the sketches. Words scribbled hastily, urgently. "They say Mira must return to her village. They say she isn't safe here. I told them I'd protect her. I told them no one would take her from me." Page after page chronicled fears he wasn't old enough to understand. "They think someone will use her to hurt me. They think she is a weakness. But she is my light." My vision blurred completely. The drawing that shattered me. The night I left the kingdom. A girl being pulled away by armored guards. A boy reaching for her, screaming, crying, arms outstretched. Written beneath in shaking letters. "Don't take her. She is mine to protect. Don't take Mira. Please." I clapped a hand over my mouth as a sob tore free. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." Had been taken. Stolen away. Ripped from his life. Ripped from his memories. And when he fought, the curse began. The next pages were smeared, burned, torn. Words scrawled in agony. "They hurt me. They hurt her to punish me. I will kill them all. I will tear the kingdom apart to find her. Where is Mira? Where is my Mira?" The beast let out a low, choking whine beside me. I touched his fur gently. He leaned into the touch as much as he could, breath warm and trembling. I turned the page. One line. One sentence that destroyed me. "They took her memories so she can never find me again." The journal slipped from my fingers. I stared at the beast, at Kale, with tears streaming down my face. "Is this true?" I whispered. His eyes squeezed shut. A single tear, molten gold, fell onto the stone floor. A hurricane of emotions tore through me. Grief, rage, guilt, confusion, overwhelming despair. But beneath it all, something else. Tether. Bond. A truth older than any curse. We had known each other. We had loved each other. In a childlike, pure, innocent way. I was his light. And they took me from him. Stole me. Stole my memories. Cursed him for loving me. A sob ripped from my throat. "This wasn't your fault," I whispered fiercely, grabbing his trembling face. "You didn't do this." "They did. They destroyed everything." He lifted his head a fraction, eyes pleading, begging for forgiveness he didn't need to ask for. And in that moment, the fortress pulsed with magic. Something deep in the walls stirred. Something ancient. Something dangerous. I swallowed hard. I couldn't stay here. Not now. Not after seeing how much he suffered for knowing me. Not after realizing that my presence triggered the curse to rip him apart. He would die trying to protect me from the truth. I leaned forward and pressed my forehead to his. He inhaled sharply, every muscle tensing, the bond pulsing, glowing faintly between us. "I have to leave," I whispered, voice breaking. "If I stay, this curse will kill you." His roar shook the chamber. Not loud, not violent, but heart-wrenching. Plea. Denial. A desperate refusal. I cupped his face harder. "Kale, listen to me. If I stay here, you'll keep fighting the curse to protect me. And every time you do, it hurts you." I saw it. I felt it. He panted, shaking his head violently, claws gouging the stone. He didn't want me to go. He'd rather die than let me leave. Tears streamed down my face. "I love you," I whispered. Not the romantic way. Not the way curses or kingdoms demanded. But with the grief of a friend stolen, a child ripped from innocence, a soul recognizing its mirror. He stilled. His breath stopped. His trembling eased. Gold swirled through his eyes. "Mira," he whispered. His voice shattered. I kissed his forehead gently. A promise, a goodbye, a vow to return. "I will break this curse," I whispered. "But I can't do it trapped here with you dying at my feet. I have to find answers. I have to survive long enough to save you." His entire body shook. "No," he rasped, the curse seizing his throat. "Don't leave." Tears blurred my vision. "I must." I grabbed the journal and fled the chamber before I could lose my resolve. He roared behind me, a devastated, broken sound that clawed at my soul, ripping it open. The fortress trembled. The torches flickered wildly. Magic crackled like lightning. He was losing control. The curse was tearing him apart. I ran through the corridors, clutching the journal to my chest. The castle tried to close doors, tried to shift hallways, tried to trap me within its enchanted walls. It didn't want me to leave. But I forced my way through. Past the library, past the hall with the murals, past the balcony where he first watched me. I reached the hidden staircase from the journal's pages. Tunnel beneath the fortress. Way out. My breath heaved. The stone trembled beneath my feet. His roars shook dust from the ceiling. He was coming. Not to kill me. To stop me from leaving. I forced the stone door open. Moonlight flooded the passage. Cold air hit my face. I stepped out. Ran. Branches tore at my skin. The forest howled. Magic screamed around me. And behind me, a roar of pure devastation shattered the night. I fell to my knees outside the forest's edge, gasping for breath. My village's gates rose in front of me. Torches glowed. Voices murmured. Soldiers gathered, marching toward the forest, toward him, hunting him. Their torches lit their path. My blood ran cold. "No," I whispered. "They would kill him. And it would be my fault." Chapter 9. The world tilted as I knelt in the mud at the edge of my village, chest heaving, fingers trembling violently around the journal. The storm clouds had broken at last, but the wind still carried the metallic scent of danger, the kind that clung to skin and whispered of death before dawn. Ahead of me, torches glowed like a trail of fire. Soldiers marched in straight, merciless lines, boots pounding the wet earth in a cold rhythm of doom. The sigil of the elders glinted on their armor, an emblem I once believed represented protection. Now I saw it for what it was, a mark of fear, of greed, of the people who stole my memories and condemned Kale to centuries of torment. My stomach churned. They moved toward the forest, toward him, toward the beast, toward Kale. My breath hitched painfully. "No," I whispered, staggering to my feet. "No, no, no." The world blurred through my tears. He was already weakened, already breaking, already on the edge of losing himself entirely. If they found him in that state, they wouldn't stand a chance at capturing him alive. They wouldn't even try. They would kill him. Just another monster to them. But I knew the truth. I had held it in my shaking hands. I had seen it painted in blood and moonlight on ancient walls. I had felt it in his trembling touch, in his whispered voice, in the way he roared in agony when I left him. Cale wasn't their monster. He was their prince. And they were marching to murder him. My pulse pounded wildly in my ears as I stumbled forward, forcing my legs to move despite the terror flooding every vein in my body. Ran. The soldiers noticed me halfway down the hill. One gasped. The tribute girl, she survived. Another grabbed his weapon. If the beast let her go, she's cursed, stay back. Their fear washed over me in a wave of revulsion. Once I had believed these men brave. Once I had seen their armor and felt safe. Now I saw the truth. They were cowards hiding behind iron and torches. Kept running. Mira, stop, a guard shouted. I didn't. If you enter the forest now, another warned, the beast will slaughter you. He won't, I choked out, voice cracking. Not me. They exchanged horrified looks. But I didn't stop. The trees swallowed me like living shadows as I plunged into the forest, heart ricocheting against my ribs. The torches behind me flickered. The air thickened. Magic pulsed through the woods in sharp, painful waves, like the very earth was crying out. He was near. Panicking. Losing control. Branches whipped against my arms. Mud splashed up my legs. The sounds of clashing metal and furious snarls began faintly at first, then grew louder. Then a scream split the forest. Human scream. Froze. Moonlight filtered weakly through the canopy, illuminating the clearing ahead. And what I saw nearly stopped my heart. Soldiers were swarming the courtyard of the fortress, torches blazing, blades drawn. And in the center, beast. Caught between forms. Half man, half monster. Magic sparking violently under his skin. His body contorting with every shudder. Fur ripping open to show glimpses of human flesh, then sealing with shadow again. He was in agony. True agony. The soldiers had formed a semicircle around him. Spears pointed, shields raised. Their eyes gleamed with terror and triumph. One man stepped forward, Elder Bran. His white hair plastered to his skull from sweat. His eyes fever-bright. There it is, he shouted. We have it surrounded. Kill the creature before it transforms fully. No! I screamed, bursting from the tree line. Heads whipped toward me. Faces paled. Mira! What, how? She came back. She must be bewitched. But all I saw was him. He was on one knee in the mud, claws buried deep in the ground as he struggled to keep control, struggled not to lash out, struggled not to let the curse force violence through his limbs. His head jerked toward me. Eyes met. His pupils widened. His breath hitched. A soft, broken sound escaped his throat. Mira! The soldiers heard it. And the world froze. Their torches flickered violently. Their jaw dropped open. Their grips faltered. He spoke her name. No monster can speak. Is it mimicking her? Impossible. But Elder Bran's eyes sharpened. He saw what they did not. He recognized it. Fear contorted his features. Don't let her near him, he bellowed. If she touches the beast, the curse may react. Hold her back. Two soldiers lunged toward me. Cale roared. The sound shook the entire courtyard, sending a shockwave of magic that blasted the soldiers backward like rag dolls. But he didn't move. Not 1 inch. His claws stayed rooted in the ground. His body trembled violently. His breath came in choking snarls. He was holding himself back for me. The curse punished him for it. Golden sparks exploded beneath his skin, ripping through fur and flesh. His spine arched. His teeth gnashed. A scream tore from my throat. Stop fighting it. You're hurting yourself. His eyes locked onto mine again, filled with so much love and pain that my knees buckled. He wasn't fighting the curse for survival. He was fighting it for me. And it was tearing him apart. Elder Bran raised his spear. Now, he commanded. While the monster is weak, strike. No, I cried, sprinting forward. Kale surged upright, staggering, claws carving trenches in the ground. His body loomed massive and monstrous, taller than any soldier, shadows coiling around him like living smoke. He roared again, not at them. Me. A desperate warning. Run. Run away. Don't come closer. But I did. I ran straight toward him. Soldiers shouted. Spears lifted. Torches flared. Kale's breathing quickened. Ragged, choking, violent. Magic crackled like lightning between his claws. His eyes flickered wildly between gold and black, between man and monster. The curse wanted him to kill me. Instinct demanded he protect me. Both forces collided inside him like storms. He collapsed to one knee, snarling in agony. I didn't stop. I skidded into the courtyard mud, slipping to my knees beside him. Mira, he roared, the curse snapping his voice mid-word. I cupped his face in both hands. His entire body froze. Golden light burst beneath his skin. The soldiers gasped. Brand stumbled backward, eyes wide with horror. No, she can't. But it was too late. Magic surged outward in a blinding wave, warm, golden, alive, writhing around us like ribbons of light. It wrapped around Kale's arms, his shoulders, his chest, not binding him but soothing him. His snarls quieted. His trembling eased. His claws uncurled. Mira, he breathed. And not through the beast's distorted voice. Through a voice closer to human. Closer to the prince he once was. My breath hitched. It's okay, I whispered. I'm here. I'm not afraid. Soft broken sound escaped him. And slowly, painfully. He leaned his forehead against mine. Gasps echoed through the courtyard. Brand shook his head violently. No, she's the key, she'll break the curse, we must separate them. Now. Soldiers rushed forward. Kale snarled and rose in one fluid, explosive motion, lifting himself fully upright, towering above them. His shadow swallowed their torches. His roar shook their bones. He stepped in front of me, shielding me, protecting me, not attacking. But the curse reacted violently to his defiance. Golden cracks raced across his skin. His muscles spasmed. He cried out, a sound so raw and human that every soldier flinched. He couldn't hold on much longer. I stood behind him, gripping his trembling arm with both hands. Kale, I whispered desperately. Let me help you. You don't have to fight alone. Let me. He staggered. I stepped forward instinctively, placing myself between him and the soldiers. Every torch flickered. Every breath stopped. Even Kale froze. Mira, he whispered, voice breaking. I turned to the soldiers. My voice shook, but it resonated with truth that felt older than any kingdom. He is not your monster, I said, tears spilling hot down my face. He is your prince. Denials. Kiss. Brand's face twisted with fury. Lies, he spat. This creature cannot be saved. He remembers me, I said fiercely. He speaks my name. He protects me. Would a mindless beast do that? Brand's voice was sharp with hatred. He protects you because the curse binds him to you. You were meant to trigger the final stage. Not undo it. My blood ran cold. The final stage. Kale growled. Low, dangerous, filled with a hatred reserved only for the man who had destroyed his life. Brand stumbled back. The soldiers faltered. But the truth burned inside me now, clearer than any memory. They used Kale. They used me. They tore us apart to control him. And I would not allow them to take him from me again. I stepped toward Kale's monstrous form, pressed both palms against his chest and whispered, I choose you. His breath shattered. His eyes flooded with gold. Magic exploded through the courtyard. Blinding light, warmth, a roar that shook the heavens. And the curse cracked. Not broke, not yet, but cracked. Enough for the soldiers to see. Not a monster. Not a beast. A man trapped inside a nightmare. Their prince. The chapter ends with golden light spiraling upward toward the moon as soldiers stare in stunned silence, Kale panting behind Mira as the curse fractures against their bond, and Elder Brand screams, "Kill them both before the prophecy is fulfilled." Chapter 10. Golden light poured from Kale's body like a dying star clawing its way back to life. It streaked through the courtyard, bending around me and slicing through the smoke-wreathed torches of the soldiers who stood frozen in shock. For a moment, just a moment, the world held its breath. And in that breath I felt him. Not the beast. Oh. The man beneath the fur. The prince beneath the curse. The boy from the journal who had loved me long before we were torn apart. His heartbeat thundered against my palms where they rested on his chest. Chaotic, desperate, alive. But alongside that heartbeat pulsed something darker. Vicious, ancient magic tightening around his ribs like chains forged from centuries of suffering. The brief crack I carved into the curse with my choice was already starting to seal. Kale groaned, his body jerking violently. Golden cracks flickered along his skin, glowing brighter with each wrench of pain. "Mira," he rasped. I stepped closer, gripping his trembling arms, grounding him with every ounce of strength I had. "I'm here," I whispered fiercely. "I'm not leaving you again. Not ever." His breath hitched, his eyes, wild molten breaking, fixed on mine. And then, the curse fought back. Kale roared as golden fire erupted around him, swirling like a living storm. The ground split at his feet, heat surging through the courtyard. Soldiers stumbled back, raising shields against the violent blast of magic. Elder Brand didn't stumble. He smiled. "This is the end," he shouted over the storm. The curse was never meant to be broken. It was meant to consume him and her. Kale snarled, staggered to one knee, and slammed a claw into the stone just to keep himself upright. The magic retaliated, slicing across his skin with visible agony. His roar cracked the air. "No!" I screamed, shoving away from him only to whirl on the soldiers. "Don't you see? He was cursed because you took me from him. 'Cause you lied. Because you betrayed your prince." Murmurs rippled through the ranks. Men who once carried their spears proudly now trembled beneath the revelation. But Brand's voice cut through their hesitation like a blade. "He is a monster," he spat. "A creature that destroys everything he touches." "He protected me," cried. "Even when the curse forced him to hurt. Even when the curse tore him apart, he fought it, for me." Brand scoffed. "You are nothing more than the trigger. A relic of his weakness. Without you he loses control. Without you he dies." Kale's roar interrupted him. A roar that wasn't full beast. There was a man's voice beneath it. A man screaming in agony. A man protecting someone he loved. The ground trembled beneath my feet as I ran back to Kale, heart pounding. His claws dug into the earth, trying to stop himself from losing bodily control. I grabbed his face with trembling hands. "Kale, look at me, look at me." His eyes snapped open. Not beast eyes. Not entirely. There was humanity burning inside them. Plea. Fear. A truth he wanted me to understand. Every muscle in his body clenched. Every tooth grit. Every breath sounded like the breaking of bone. "Mira," he forced out, voice shredded, cracking. Tears streamed down my face. "Yes," I whispered. "I'm here." He leaned into my touch, eyes fluttering shut. Magic surged between us. Violent, bright, overwhelming. And above the roar of power, he whispered one word. "Run." My chest shattered. "No." He snarled, not at me, but at the curse tightening its claws around his throat. "Run," he repeated, voice strained, terrified. I can't. Mira, please go." I pressed my forehead to his, ignoring the crackling magic, ignoring the soldiers, ignoring the danger. "No," I whispered fiercely. "I choose you. I will always choose you." His breath stuttered, and the curse hesitated, just long enough for Elder Brand to see the truth. "No!" Bran cried, eyes widening with horror. She's breaking it, stop her. Stop her. Soldiers hesitated, but not for long. Spears lowered. Shields rose. They surged forward. Cale sensed them before I did. His body snapped upright, towering over me in a violent protective stance. His claws extended. His snarl shook the trees. His breath came in furious bursts. He turned to face the soldiers, even though fighting them might kill him, even though the curse tore at his skin, even though every movement risked him losing control. He would die before he let them touch me, and I would die before I let him. I stepped in front of him. Gasps rippled through the courtyard. Cale froze, trembling violently behind me. "Mira," he whispered, a warning and a plea tangled into one. I reached back without looking, grasping his clawed hand. He inhaled sharply. Magic flared. Golden light wrapped around our joined hands like glowing vines, weaving a bond neither of us fully understood. I faced the soldiers. "You will not touch him." My voice echoed through the courtyard. But unbreakable. Even the torches flickered away from me. Brand sneered. "You're defending a monster." I shook my head slowly, tears burning hot trails down my cheeks. "I'm defending the prince you destroyed." His face blanched. Whispers stirred among the soldiers. "A prince? This can't be true." But he spoke her name. "The elders hid something from us." Brand's voice broke through their doubts. "He butchered his own court. He turned on his people. This curse is justice." Cale's roar cracked the earth. It was pure agony, pure grief, pure denial. He had not killed them. He had been framed. He had been cursed because he searched for me. He had been abandoned because he loved me. My hand tightened around his. And suddenly, the golden cracks on his skin began to glow brighter, 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 like the beginning of an explosion. Magic surged through us both. His breath hitched. His claws flexed. Power radiated outward in spirals of blinding light. Brand saw the transformation and screamed, "Kill them both!" Soldiers rushed forward. Cale lunged instinctively. Not to kill, to shield me. But the curse punished him instantly. His body seized. A horrifying sound tore from his throat. He fell to his knees. I dropped beside him, cradling his face. "Cale, listen to me, listen." His eyes flickered wildly. He was losing control. Losing himself. Losing time. "Mira," he whispered, barely audible. "Yes," I sobbed. "Yes, I'm here." He shuddered violently. And then, quietly, brokenly, the truth reached his lips. "Don't watch me die." He shattered. "No," he screamed. No, you will not die. I won't let you." His hand, massive, trembling, lifted weakly. He brushed my cheek with a single claw, gentle as moonlight. "I loved you first," he whispered. "I love you still." Magic exploded. Torches blew out. Wind spiraled upward. The moon turned gold. Cale arched backward in a silent scream. The curse reached its breaking point. And I understood. Only one thing could decide whether he lived or died. Me. I threw my arms around him, pressing my entire body to his, heart to heart. "I choose you," I whispered. Golden fire erupted from my chest. It surged through him, burning the curse, breaking the bindings, devouring the chains of magic that tortured him, consuming centuries of pain. He roared, but not in agony, in rebirth. His body lifted from the ground, suspended in a blinding sphere of light. Wind whipped around us as if the world itself bowed to the moment. Soldiers fell to their knees, shielding their faces. Brand screamed, but nothing could stop it. Nothing could stop him. The light shattered, and when it faded, I found myself kneeling in the mud, chest heaving, tears streaming, heart pounding. And before me stood a man. Broad-shouldered, hair dark as night and falling in damp strands over his brow, skin glowing faintly where golden cracks sealed themselves shut. eyes molten gold, warm and shining with tears that fell freely. Oh, not the beast, not the curse. Oh. He looked at me as though seeing the sun for the first time after centuries of darkness. Mira, he whispered my name, spoken with a voice whole, human, trembling. I rose on shaking legs. He took one step toward me, and I flew into his arms. His embrace closed around me like a vow. Warm, strong, human. His face buried in my hair as his body shook with silent sobs. You saved me, he murmured. You remembered me even when you did not recall our life. You loved me even when everything told you to fear me. I never stopped, I whispered into his chest. His hand cupped my cheek. I looked up. He lowered his forehead to mine. And in the softest, most sacred voice I had ever heard, he whispered, Mira, my heart remembers you. Always. The soldiers watched in stunned silence. The torches relit themselves. The wind calmed. The world exhaled. Kale turned to the soldiers, standing tall, not as the beast they feared, but as the prince they betrayed. This ends, he declared. No more lies. No more cruelty. No more fear. No one dared challenge him. Not with the magic of a broken curse still crackling in the air. Not with me standing beside him. Not with the truth laid bare. Kel turned back to me. His eyes, golden, warm, beautiful, shone with an emotion that made my chest ache. Mira, he whispered softly, tilting my chin up. What comes next? A slow smile spread across my face. I think, I said softly, we let them guess. His soft laugh broke the last of the storm. He pulled me into his arms once more. And the curse, the darkness, the centuries of agony, faded into a dawn bright enough to blind the past. If you felt their bond, if your heart broke and healed with theirs, tell me in the comments, did you expect Kale to transform? And should Mira and Kale's story continue? Like, share, and follow for the next chapter of their destiny.